Right. Shall I do a little, make a start and I'll do a little demo? So carrying on the theme of night scenes, I quite fancied having a go at doing sort of like a bigger version of this one. So this was a little painting I did a few years ago, 2019, down at the seafronts, and it was this sort of scene really. So this was painted directly sort of on site, very quickly. I think I probably started with some of the lighter bits and then put figures in. So it's a matter of just kind of putting bits of paint on everywhere. So that's sometimes how I work when I'm outdoors. In the studio, I tend to build them up a little bit slower. So you've got a bit more time to just kind of gradually create an image. But this would be a useful sketch because the atmosphere of that I really liked. I've brought a few other little night scene paintings that are over the back there, if you want to have a look at those later. They're just all quick ones I've done quite a lot down the seafront. So starting off an oil painting, and I thought I'd perhaps use this over the next couple of weeks and just gradually develop it in this class and some of the other classes. I either start off, sometimes I used to start off like this with pastel quite a bit, just getting some pastel shapes down. Not sure that's the right place actually, probably a bit lower would be better. So the nice thing about pastel is it's very easy to work out. So say I had her there. Or you could use paint, and this is, to be honest, what I tend to do now. I don't always bother with a pastel. Sometimes I like to work into a very slightly wet surface anyway. So I'm more likely to use, I quite often use like something like raw sienna, but I don't have that in the water mix oils. So I'll mix some yellow ochre and a little bit of burnt umber. I don't know why, sometimes it just seems a little bit more fluid working this way. So, perhaps draw her in again there. We could have some fountains coming up here. And really to start with, it can all be fairly loose. And because with an oil painting, you can draw it as you go, really. I'm not too worried about details, because any details are drawing at this stage, you're going to get wiped out. Hello. Do you want to, have a seat? Let's see. Maybe anyway, you can find a seat, really. So it's easy in there? Easy? Yeah, great. So this is. Yeah. So I'll start just by trying to sort of place all the main elements. So I can have a figure down here. I quite like the idea of including some of these figures that are sort of running through the fountains as well. So these kids at the front were really just kind of standing on the outside looking in. I thought I quite like these, and these I took a different night actually. I thought that might be quite nice. And some of these I've used a bit of video and then just frozen it, because I find it very difficult to take photos of moving figures and very rarely capture the exact moment. So I managed to freeze it and then just print off the freeze. So I quite like the way this girl's leg was just kind of coming out like that.
That's very impressive.
And I don't know, I'm not sure about the other one, but I'll pop it in here. I've tried painting this sort of subject from life, and the problem is really getting a strong composition, because I found I've sort of added a figure here and add a figure there. So sort of working something out beforehand is quite a good idea. And you could do a whole tonal underpainting to start with, and then add colour, which I think I'm quite inclined to do really. And then there's quite often figures sort of on the outside. Let's move that over a little bit. So some of these figures here are quite like. And you can play with things like different, like some are very dark, and then you've got the lighter coloured figures or children in the foreground. So it's a nice way to play around with the tonal shapes and just try and create a strong composition. This one, I think the cursor has sort of disappeared behind that bit, so I wanted to try and include that. Maybe bring it slightly further over, bring it over here a little bit, just so it's not bang smack in the middle of the image. So it's still sort of believable. And on the photograph, you can hardly see anything of the actual building, and I quite fancied just a hint of that structure. Yeah, so that could be hopefully a composition that work. It will be quite dark down here. Give her some legs, and yeah, plenty of space down here. And there's, no, I was wondering if you can see reflections, but you can't particularly. It's more just shadow. So yeah, there's plenty of space in the foreground. I'm always a bit cautious about putting the figures too low, because sometimes they just feel like they're sinking in the painting. So quite often I'll just leave, either I'll crop them completely or leave a bit of space underneath. But I wouldn't have the picture ending there and the figures ending there, because I just think it'd look uncomfortable. So it's really creating a sense of space that works. Maybe it needs a bit more of something over here, or maybe we need to move them over a little bit. But that would be okay for the time being. And then really, what you can do with the oils, with the first layer, is really just put a very thin layer of paint. It's kind of a washy layer. So I could carry on with this sort of browny colour and use that, or I could go for blue. It's really just partly just toning the canvas or the board in this case. It's a bit absorbent actually, this board. It's not really good priming. So you could do something like that. You could do paint the whole thing in sort of sepia tones or something like that. Or if you wanted, you could just go straight in with, you know, basic colour. So I'll make that a little bit bluer. That's some ultramarine. Just do a little bit more around here. I probably would. The colour of the board to start with is quite important, really. I think actually for night scenes it'd be better to have a darker colour board anyway. This just happened to be what was on the shelf. But if you haven't, or if you've got a white canvas, this first layer is almost like the undercoat. Just like if you're painting furniture, you might have a grey undercoat if you're painting a blue door or something. But you'll always find that the white might show through. And you might want some of that to show through, but equally, you know, you don't want it too bright, really.
So would you put a wash over the whole canvas prior to even beginning?
You could do, or you could do, so that would be one way, or you can, like, I've got a little sketch here, let's see if I can find it. Yeah, this one, this was just like an old board that I had lying around, and I put loads and loads of different colours on it, so it's sort of this purple colour. And I just wanted to try, this was like a little sketch of skaters from a photograph, this. But that worked really well as a tone, because it was so dark already, I hardly had to put anything on. And a little bit of this tone showing through was quite nice. So that would have been a better tone board for this sort of subject, really. But I haven't got that, so I could just do the equivalent of that. I've just roughly putting some, so down here, I mean, I could carry on with the building here, and then I can put the lights back in, maybe a little bit lighter for the building itself. And then a bit dark around here. And this is very much a traditional way of building up paint. In with the fountains, if I went over them, I could do that, and then just get a bit of rag and draw those back in, just wipe that out a little bit, the areas. The areas where I want those to be, and just get a bit of rag and draw them back out. So it's not really, so you could, probably with this sort of thing, the best thing would be not to use white. So you're just using tones, and then you've got this slightly transparent look. And then by the time I get down to the figures, get some colour in there. But I could go a bit darker with the figure. So this is, you could use maybe a little bit of grey or black in there, because she's quite dark against the background. Probably not as dark as I'm going to paint her. That's that sort of tone. Yeah. And once that's dry, and because it's quite thinly painted, with what white is quite a slow drying colour. So if you don't use white, that'll dry probably quite quickly. Certainly by tomorrow that'll be dry, and then I could then work the other layers over the top then. So certainly on a bigger scale, that's quite often what I would do, or a studio painting, or a painting where I could go back to the same location a number of times. So yeah, the bigger outdoor paintings I've done, I've usually gone about them that way. Smaller ones like these sort of things, I just go in pretty much, you know, that would be painted probably in just maybe an hour, and just really just straight out the tube, straight onto the canvas. Well, the thing is, they don't hang about, these children don't, and, or the light, well the light won't change much here, but lights change and things like that. Yeah. So that's, yeah, how digital. I suppose working outdoors, I typically work 2 or 3 hours at a painting, and then the light will change quite a bit, so either finish it in that time or come back on the top. Sorry?
Then he flogs them for about 700 quid.
Very, very rarely.
When you did that competition at 21, you painted for 3 hours, and it went for 650.
Yeah, that was a nice prize. 4 hours though.
Oh, I'm sorry, I've got the hours.
Yeah, that's on those very, very
I was
rare,
there.
very rare occasions. Does that all make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's two options for us. But you know, working in the studio, you can really take your time. You know, build it up slowly. Work over a couple of weeks. Yeah. Okay. Right. Stop that.